glad to introduce you briefly, Dr. Regine Scholz. You studied psychology, sociology in Munich and have written a thesis on cultural and collective trauma. And you have a personal and professional experience at the Ruhr University of Bochum in in-house management training. And you were also operating internationally as in an oil company. So you had a private practice since 1987, and specialized on trauma. And so we are very eager to hear what you have to say about trauma, extremism, and all that topics that are at the center of our conference this year. Thanks very much for being here, Regina.
Okay, thank you very much, Marc-André, for your kind introduction. And thanks, of course, to the International Psychohistorical Association for inviting me to your important conference. I hope at the end of my lecture, you won't have to regret it. I guess most of you will agree with me that the official and unofficial discourses became more emotional, often aggressive, during the last years. Some of the psychological backgrounds of these processes are my topic today. That's not meant to replace other factors that impact politics, economics, geopolitical, etc. It is meant as an addition, drawing the attention to the more irrational, crazy aspects of societal conflicts. So you see here the title of my presentation, Communication in Times of Societal Regression. Before going into it, I have to apologize for my very strong German accent, which will make it perhaps for some of you difficult to follow me. I hope that the slides can help a bit with that, because, well, obviously it's not my native language. So, communication in times of societal conflict. Let's see. Please allow me first to introduce some definitions, so to make sure that we are on common ground when in the following it is talked about societal regression. So let's start with society. With that term, you can address the totality of all possible social contacts. There is no clear boundary, so we usually talk about this society or that society, but the boundaries are a bit blurred. All possible social contacts. Contacts usually are organized in interactions, face-to-face, or as we have it here, just on screen, in networks and organizations, institutions. Societies provide patterns how to reach all these different possibilities. The patterns, spheres, can be defined by following different logics that exist in parallel and cannot be harmonized. I think that's very important. Definitions along variance possibilities to differentiate were made, for example, by Emil Durkheim, Max Weber, Georg Simmel, Tucker Parsons, Nicholas Newman, and Pierre Bourdieu, just to mention some of the very important ones. Though the good thing is, for today's purpose, we don't need to dig deeper into these distinctions here. It was just to mention them, that we are not talking about them. What I want to talk about today is about large groups and their dynamics. Large groups are not a definition of the sociological time as mentioned above. Large groups refer to a layer beneath sociological definitions of society. It is a psychological category that describes, quote, how thousands or millions of individuals, most of whom will never meet in their lifetimes, are bound by an intense sense of sameness, by belonging to the same ethnic, religious, national, or ideological group. Some of you may have realized that I'm clearly following here the thoughts of Ramek Volkan, from whom also this quote is. So, let's have a look further, because what's important for us is the question of large group identity. That's a term that's articulated by Ramek Volkan, enlarging or based on Eric Homburger Eriksson's concept of personal identity, which he conceptualized after he had to flee Germany and came to the US. Because then you feel that your personal identity is not only just personal. The large group identity, that's very important, is considered being part of a person's core identity. This is some kind of identity that doesn't show up. It's in a way it's sleeping in peaceful times. Then other identity, personal identity dimensions come to the forefront. You are a banker, you are a mother, or you are a musician. You come from the north or from the south, whatever. So, but the large group identity is surfacing when meeting a discrepancy. That, for example, meeting people with different large group identities, who just by their way of being in the world question what for you is self-evident and normal and natural. Huh? So then the level of large group identity is coming to be felt, and the sharpest way where you find it is in case of a group conflict, of a war. So when a group's identity is threatened, group members will do everything to restore or to maintain their group identity. But unfortunately, that also means that regression always lingers. But before going deeper into that, I think it's worthwhile to have a look on the term regression that we borrowed from Freud. Because if we look closer, then it becomes clear that this term is deeply rooted in Freudian drive theory. It implies A, a developmental theory, B, a theory of neurosis, and C, a theory of therapeutic healing. As we all know, the psychosexual development is conceptualized parallel to the bodily maturation. And then the child gradually has to give up previous libidinal satisfactions in its healthy development. Neurosis then is the return to previously abandoned sources of satisfaction. And healing occurs by repetition, working through in the therapeutic situation, the transference. That all is implied in the Freudian notion of regression. So let's have a look on large group regression, how it fits there. My thesis is that for large group processes, regression only can be a metaphor. The term regression refers to individual development and a person's body, as mentioned before. But large group social entities do not have a body that gives the direction of the development. Consequently, what is a higher or a lower stage of development is a value-loaded statement. I think we heard some of about that from Anne in her lecture. Calling a society regressed implies it being in an immature or sick state, if we follow the implications of regression. And consequently, it could be perhaps educated and or cured. That doesn't work very well on a large group level. So the values entailed in using the term large group regression usually go unnoticed. That means unconscious. I have a little colonial aftertaste about primitive societies, large groups. Large group regression, for a moment I stay with that term, occurs when a group's large group identity is threatened, bringing out the best and the worst of the group members. We can discuss that also with regard to the terrorists. Leaving aside the more theoretical implications, the natural understanding of the term regression alludes to phenomena as dehumanization, violence, rape, killing, torture, hatred, sadism, humiliation, despair, etc. It's not a very systematic list that I just made here, just to address the emotional field that is alluded to when we term about societal regression. The precondition that all this can occur is a sharp distinction between us and them. I guess we all know that. I subsumized all this under the title of The Mindset of War. Then, if you have a precondition is fulfilled, the sharp division between us and them, then there's something like, we are all one and stand as one against the threat, the enemy. All good is in our group, all bad is in the others, the enemy's group. This construction often is accompanied by reactivating chosen traumas and chosen glories, leading to a time collapse. So that means past traumatizations, group traumatizations are experienced as being now, okay? And so the past infuses the present, and it's also projected into the future. Mindset of war also brings with it a punitive moral against deviators. When it's because not everybody, we are there is the ideology of we are all one, but we are, it's a plurality of persons with a plurality of ideas. And if somebody just shows some of the differences, there is punitive actions are usually soon on their way. You can also understand that as purification processes. The group has to stay good, therefore everything bad, if it should show up inside, has to be just brought outside or silenced or even worse. That goes along with feelings of entitlement to do everything necessary in name of the good cause, and that can be done without shame or guilt feelings. Then within the same act in a civilian situation would not be so easy to perform. Well, some examples of the language, what shows up in these situations very easily. Your own cause then is a fight of good against of the good against the evil. It is a fight of the light against the darkness. They, the enemies, are vermin, lice, dogs, rats, human animals, etc. Gladiators don't belong to us. They are traitors, cowards, parasites, scum. Usually they have to be punished, silenced, if not worse. And every sign of compromise or understanding something of the other side is weakness and is treason, and will be, of course, punished. So just to give us an impression, and we heard much about that also from Anne on the more personal level, what we are talking about. I contrast it to this mindset of war. I contrast it to mindset of peace, because it's very different. The mindset of war is functional, not to forget. It's not just bad, it's functional for going to war. But it is dysfunctional for peace. If you are going for peace, you need to preserve individualities. We are not all one, and the capacity to compromise. You have to value the freedom of speech, not to silence every voice that's not saying the same. It's about maintaining the ability to question what is moral or beautiful. It's not by accident that if you see if you are looking to art objects produced in the Nazi time or in the Stalinist area, they all look more or less the same. Because it was ordered what was beautiful, and all the rest was not allowed to show up. So another very important trait that's necessary, an ability that's necessary, is to separate fantasy from reality, because you are not fighting the same battle that was 500 years ago. So to separate fantasy from reality and the past from the present, just to see what are the present problems, and not only to see them through the glasses of the past. Another important capability is that you are able to wonder about human aspects of the enemy group. They are also mothers, fathers have children, want to have something they can have a pride in their life, and so on. So normal human aspect of the enemy group and caring about the enemy's psychic reality. Just questioning why is or are they doing this and that? What is the background? What are the values, perhaps, even if we don't accept them? What is a psychic reality that moves them to act how they act? It's not about accepting it, it's about caring, trying to understand why and how. So that if all these conditions are fulfilled, then there is a possibility to find some common ground from where you can define your own position, but also to find common ground from where perhaps you can start to find a way of how to deal with the enemy, and gradually not the the opposition will not be necessary anymore. But there remains, there remains a very important question, the big question: how do we get there? Because if you are, all these threats are emotional, highly emotional. So how to get from the emotions of war to the emotions of peace? If I would have the answer, I would be a candidate for the Nobel Prize. But here I really want to discuss it together with you. Thank you for your kind attention.